We often carry our past around as if it were an oversized backpack filled with things we never needed in the first place. Memories of missed chances, regrets about what was left undone, and lingering pain from old wounds weigh us down. We tell ourselves these memories are part of who we are, convincing ourselves that letting them go is the same as denying our identity. Yet the truth is, clinging to the past can prevent you from living fully in the present. We spend so much time looking backward, rehashing what might have been, that we miss the opportunities standing right in front of us. It's like trying to drive a car by staring into the rearview mirror. Sure, we need to glance every now and then to see how far we've come or to be aware of potential hazards. But if that's our constant focus, we'll never notice the open road ahead. What if the past is not just about regret, but also about illusions of comfort? We trick ourselves into thinking that reliving old moments, whether they're good or bad, provides some sense of security. Perhaps it's easier to stay tethered to a familiar pain than risk heading into an unknown future. But the cost is enormous. We sacrifice genuine growth, we lose sight of new possibilities, and we end up repeating old patterns. Sometimes, it's the fear of making the same mistake again that keeps us stuck, as if refusing to move forward will protect us from future heartbreak. That strategy never works. It only ensures that yesterday's burdens remain firmly anchored in our present. Leaving the past behind doesn't mean pretending it never happened. It doesn't mean discarding lessons learned or memories cherished. Rather, it means acknowledging all of it, both the triumphs and the disappointments, and making a conscious choice to move on. Life continues regardless of whether we do. The clock keeps ticking, the sun sets and rises again, and the world spins forward even if we're standing still. The best we can do is evolve, to let go of what no longer serves us, so that we can make space for what will help us grow. Realizing you have the power to release old burdens is the first step. Admitting you can't change the past, but can shape your response to it is the second. Embrace both steps, and you'll find yourself lighter, more open, and far more ready to welcome the life ahead. Procrastination often masquerades as a comfortable friend, whispering that later will always be there. We buy into the idea that tomorrow will offer a clearer head, better timing, or more energy. We say we'll begin that new chapter of our lives next week, next month, or perhaps when I'm ready. But deep down, we realize that no moment is ever fully perfect. There will always be an unforeseen challenge, an unexpected twist, or a moment of hesitation that intrudes when we dare to start. Believing in the myth of the perfect time is just another way we sabotage ourselves. Real life is messy, complicated, and unpredictable. Waiting for a day without obstacles is like waiting for the ocean to be free of waves. What, then, stops so many of us from taking the first step right away? It could be the fear of failure, that stinging sense of dread that if we start something and can't see it through, will confirm the worst things we suspect about ourselves. We may also worry about what other people will say if we stumble, or perhaps we dread success itself, afraid of how our social circles, relationships, or responsibilities could transform once we rise above our old circumstances. Fear often cloaks itself in plausible excuses, busy schedules, financial worries, or lacking certain skills. Yet under that facade lies a simple truth. We hesitate because we're scared of change. But consider the alternative. The more you postpone your dreams, the more you waste irreplaceable time. Days turn into weeks, and weeks become years before you even realize it. Suddenly, you're looking back, wishing you had started earlier, lamenting that now it might be too late. That's when regret begins to gnaw at your mind. Regret is a potent emotion. It can overshadow even the sting of failing at something. If you try and don't succeed, you can learn and adapt. But if you never try, you're left with endless what-ifs. Eventually, the weight of those possibilities might become heavier than any fear of failure. So, why not choose to move forward? Even if you're trembling, the act of starting can unlock strengths you never knew you had. Once you commit, you'll find pathways you never anticipated and allies who share your goals. You'll begin to see that action, even if imperfect, sparks momentum. It's that momentum that carries you over obstacles, guiding you closer to the life you truly crave. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment, make the moment perfect by deciding it's time to begin. Leaving the past behind also means recognizing the difference between the people who actually do and those who only dream about doing. Ambition alone isn't enough. Wanting success, growth, or transformation has to be backed by real effort. Look at the individuals you admire. Perhaps you're drawn to someone who overcame extraordinary adversity or built something incredible from almost nothing. Their common trait is not superhuman intelligence or endless resources. It's simply that they started and then refused to quit when hurdles appeared. People who accomplish what they set out to do often didn't feel perfectly prepared at the outset. They likely had doubts, faced skepticism from others, and dealt with failures along the way. Yet they pressed on, learning valuable lessons each time they stumbled. Meanwhile, those who remain stuck typically give up at the first sign of trouble or linger on the sidelines, dreaming about how things might be. They cling to the idea that they'll try someday, which is simply code for never. Many cling to blame, pointing at circumstances, their upbringing, or the market for their inaction. But the unvarnished truth is that only you can chart your course. Life seldom hands out permission slips. You either give yourself permission to go after what you want, or you never go at all. Of course, taking responsibility for your life doesn't come without discomfort. It's intimidating to say, the results I get are up to me, because that statement removes excuses. But here's the real freedom. Once you claim responsibility, you unlock your ability to make meaningful change. Instead of being stuck in a loop of regrets and should have done that differently, you start looking for solutions. If something isn't working, you adapt, you revise, and you push ahead. That willingness to adapt transforms obstacles from dead ends into building blocks. By leaving behind the narratives of what could have been, you grant yourself the freedom to shape what can still be. This applies to everything: health goals, career trajectories, creative aspirations, even personal relationships. When you wake up each day realizing that the only person who can truly push you toward progress is you, that's when the shift happens. You start functioning differently, strategizing, focusing on solutions, and refusing to let fleeting emotions dictate your decisions. Instead of waiting for a cosmic sign, you become your own signal. Over time, this mentality crystallizes into unstoppable momentum, leading you further than you ever dared to imagine. So many of us get caught up in the pursuit of motivation, that fleeting spark that makes you feel like you can conquer the world. It's exhilarating when you catch it, but motivation, by its nature, waxes and wanes. Some days you'll wake up energized, thrilled to chase your goals. Other days, just lifting your head off the pillow feels like a monumental task. Relying on motivation alone is like depending on the weather. It changes unpredictably. Instead, genuine progress demands discipline. Discipline is the engine that continues to run when motivational fuel runs low. Think of discipline as the quiet partner that doesn't care whether you feel excited or lethargic. It simply shows up. It tells you that no matter how you feel, you'll follow through. Discipline, in essence, is the adult voice in your head that says, do it because you promised yourself you would. When you cultivate discipline, you stop being tossed around by fleeting moods or external circumstances. You anchor yourself in a commitment that transcends momentary emotions. Yet, discipline isn't easy to establish. It battles against every bit of laziness, hesitation, or self-doubt that tries to keep you stuck in old habits. At first, it may feel like you're fighting an internal war, forcing yourself to do the things you said you wanted, even if in the moment you're not thrilled about it. Over time, however, discipline itself becomes a habit. Like training a muscle, the more you flex it, the stronger it gets. Eventually, you'll discover that you don't spend as much energy forcing yourself to stick to your path. You become the kind of person who simply follows through. Discipline isn't about denying joy or running yourself ragged. It's about ensuring that your daily choices align with your long-term goals, instead of bowing to short-lived impulses. And while motivation may be a valuable spark, discipline is a steady flame that keeps the fire burning, even when the initial excitement has faded. By learning to lean on discipline, you begin to trust yourself in a deeper way. When you say you'll do something, you actually do it. That trust in yourself is foundational. It's what transforms big dreams into everyday reality. Regret is one of the heaviest burdens you can carry. It's that quiet voice that whispers, you had your chance and you let it slip away. At times, Regret feels sharper than the sting of any failure, because with failure, at least you know you gave a shot. You put yourself out there and learned something, even if you didn't get the outcome you hoped for. But regret comes from not trying at all, from letting opportunities pass by, then realizing too late that you'd willingly trade so many comforts just to have that chance again. Think of all the dreams you had that didn't materialize because you told yourself the timing wasn't right. Think of every relationship you never pursued because you fear rejection, or every project left unfinished because you convince yourself you'd tackle it someday. Someday never really arrives. It's a placeholder we use to avoid admitting that we're scared. That fear, left unchecked, morphs into regret. Over the years, regret can pile up, forming a psychological wall that seems impossible to scale. But here's the reality. Even if you can't change what happened before, you can use those regrets as fuel. Instead of letting them anchor you to the past, you can let them push you forward. What if you made the choice today not to accumulate more regrets tomorrow? That small shift in mindset can be transformative. You realize that every hour, every minute, is a chance to stop repeating old patterns. You can break the cycle by confronting your fear head-on, by daring to fail if it means at least you tried. Of course, that doesn't mean it's easy. Stepping into the unknown is rarely comfortable. But ask yourself, which is worse, stepping into discomfort or living a life defined by missed chances? When you frame it that way, the choice becomes clearer. You may stumble, you may face rejection, and you may experience heartbreak, but you'll also open doors you never saw before. You'll learn, adapt, and eventually walk a path far more fulfilling than the one paved by regrets. After all, it's better to try and fail than to stand on the sidelines, forever wondering what might have been. We often hear the phrase, no risk, no story, and it resonates for a reason. Playing it safe keeps you within the borders of what's predictable, but it also keeps your life small. Every tale worth telling, every dream worth chasing, involve an element of stepping into unknown territory. Think about the individuals who transformed not just their own existence, but also the world around them. Whether they were launching a business, championing a cause, or creating a work of art that defied convention, they all took risks that could lead to failure or humiliation. Risk doesn't guarantee success. In fact, sometimes you will fall flat on your face. But if you never take a shot, you'll never discover how high you can climb. When you risk something, be it your comfort, your resources, or your pride, you learn far more about who you are and what you're capable of. Indeed, people who remain glued to their safe zone seldom realize their potential. They might not fail dramatically, but they seldom succeed dramatically either. Their stories remain unwritten chapters, filled with what-if scenarios that never see the light of day. Naturally, risk-taking doesn't mean being reckless. It's about carefully assessing the direction you want to move in and deciding that even if the path is uncertain, it's still worth pursuing. It means accepting that any worthwhile endeavor might lead to setbacks, but that such setbacks are stepping stones for bigger achievements down the line. Each misstep can teach you a lesson that polishes your approach. Rather than labeling your experience as a flop, view it as a chance to refine your strategy. At the heart of it, no risk, no story, is an invitation to live more expansively. It's a reminder that you have only one shot at life. Why not make an adventure? Yes, risk can be scary. Yes, failure can hurt. But staying trapped in a cycle of caution and routine can hurt just as much in the long run, if not more. In that sense, the real gamble is holding yourself back for fear of an outcome that might never come to pass. When you weigh the price of inaction against the cost of stepping into the unknown, you might find that taking a leap is not only justified, but absolutely necessary for growth. One of the biggest battles you'll ever fight isn't with external competitors or even circumstances. It's with yourself. The mind is both your strongest ally and your fiercest adversary. In the quiet of your thoughts, doubt creeps in, reminding you of your shortcomings or rehashing every time you fell short of the goal. This is the war within, the daily tug-of-war between the part of you that yearns for growth and the part that clings to what's safe. We've all heard that phrase, you are your own worst enemy. But have you really digested what it means? No one can derail your ambitions faster than you can. You can sabotage your own progress by feeding into the narrative that says you're not cut out for greatness or that you can't escape your past. Even supportive friends and family can't override the negative chatter in your head if you've given it too much power. And it happens subtly, through tiny justifications, passing self-criticisms, and fear-laden hesitations that compound over time. Yet, this mental battleground isn't unwinnable. Recognizing your self-defeating habits is the first step. Maybe you notice you always procrastinate right when you're about to take a vital step. Or you catch yourself brushing aside praise and focusing on flaws whenever you do accomplish something. These patterns are red flags, signs that your inner critic is in control. To flip the script, you need to challenge that inner voice. Ask yourself, is this truly an accurate reflection of reality, or is it just my own anxiety speaking? Often, when you put your fears under a microscope, you realize many are baseless or at least highly exaggerated. Overcoming your own sabotaging mindset is a daily endeavor, and it doesn't happen instantly. It calls for self-awareness, self-compassion, and sometimes even professional guidance. But with time, you'll notice that the more you stand up to your negative thoughts, the weaker they become. Little by little, you'll adopt a mentality that sees setbacks as temporary and treats success as attainable. Winning the war within is about consistently choosing to believe in yourself, even when that belief seems unwarranted. You realize that, ironically, the greatest obstacle and the greatest champion you can have reside in the same place: your own mind. Life throws curveballs, unexpected losses, financial hardships, broken relationships, moments where it feels like the ground disappears beneath you. Resilience is a quality that enables you to bounce back when everything goes sideways. Without it, the first sign of trouble can knock you out of the game entirely. With it, you transform challenges into catalysts for growth. It's not about avoiding pain or disappointment. Those are often inevitable, but about choosing how you respond. Resilience is built in the little moments long before the big storms arrive. Every time you force yourself to keep going despite fatigue or disappointment, you're training that resilience muscle. Every time you choose a proactive solution instead of wallowing in self-pity, you're practicing it. Often, people imagine resilience is only forged in massive life events, like surviving a natural disaster or overcoming a major health crisis. But in truth, resilience is cultivated in the everyday battles, pushing through a tough work deadline, navigating misunderstandings with loved ones, or sticking to your exercise routine even when you're sore and exhausted. Each small win readies you for bigger tests ahead. Failure plays an integral role here. Contrary to what society often teaches us, failure isn't a final verdict on your capabilities. It's more like a signpost telling you that you have room to grow, skills to refine, or a need to reevaluate your approach. Individuals who excel in their fields, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, frequently talk about the countless failures they endured to reach success. The difference is that they learned and adapted rather than letting those missteps define them. When you're faced with adversity, remind yourself that resilience doesn't mean feeling no pain. You're allowed to grieve, to feel disappointed, to acknowledge the hurt. What sets resilience apart is your choice not to remain in that state. You let yourself feel, then you gather the lessons, pick yourself up, and keep pushing forward. Over time, you realize that the more obstacles you overcome, the more confidence you gain in your ability to handle whatever life throws your way. That sense of inner fortitude becomes a powerful motivator, showing you that while you can't control the external world, you can certainly control how you face it. Personal accountability is a game changer, yet so many people sidestep it because it feels so final. Saying, "I'm responsible for my life," means you can't pawn off blame onto your boss, your parents, your friends, or society. It's a daunting idea, because if your life isn't going the way you want, it suggests you contributed to that outcome. However, this very acknowledgement is also liberating. Once you accept that you are the architect of your reality, you suddenly possess the capacity to renovate any aspect you dislike. Of course, some things are outside your control. The family you were born into, random events, the economy's ebbs and flows. But how you respond to these forces is always your choice. You can channel frustration into new strategies, or you can sink into resentment and inaction. You can find supportive networks or retreat into isolation. Every day, you cast a vote for who you become, through your thoughts, your words, and your decisions. Responsibility also means letting go of the crutch of excuses. It's tempting to attribute an action to a lack of resources or an unfortunate background. Yet, if you scour the stories of people who overcame great odds, you'll notice that they often started with very little. What they didn't do was let that scarcity define their future. They looked for opportunities or created them from scratch. When you take responsibility, you realize that if something is not working, you have the power to make adjustments. That might mean learning a new skill, seeking mentorship, changing your environment, or even reevaluating your priorities. This mindset shift can feel uncomfortable, almost like stepping into icy water. You lose the comfort of blaming external forces, which can make you feel naked in the face of potential failure. But that vulnerability is precisely what fuels deep change. Embracing responsibility becomes a bedrock for meaningful action. You know that if you're the problem, then you're also the solution. And if you're the solution, then the possibilities for transformation are nearly endless. Our internal dialogue shapes how we experience reality. You could be making significant strides in your goals, but if your self-talk is constantly negative, "I can't do this, I'm not worthy," it's too late. You'll likely sabotage your own efforts. On the flip side, cultivating a supportive, encouraging internal voice can propel you through obstacles with surprising tenacity. The catch is, changing this dialogue isn't an overnight affair. It involves repeatedly catching yourself when you sink into self-criticism and consciously replacing harsh commentary with words that build you up. This doesn't mean you should ignore valid self-assessment. Being honest about where you need improvement is crucial for growth. What you want to eliminate is destructive self-talk, the kind that berates you relentlessly and leaves you feeling hopeless. For instance, if you stumble on a new project, constructive dialogue would say, "I made mistakes, but here's what I can learn to improve next time." Destructive dialogue says, "I'm incapable, I might as well give up." Over time, you can train yourself to replace the second statement with the first, effectively reframing setbacks into lessons. The tone of your self-talk often mirrors how you think others see you. If you constantly assume people are judging you, you might project that imagined judgment inward. The reality is, most people are too preoccupied with their own lives to scrutinize yours at the level you imagine. And those who do judge you harshly are typically dealing with insecurities of their own. Your mind is your personal domain. You decide which voices get the microphone. Improving your internal narrative might also involve practical techniques like journaling, meditation, or speaking with a coach or therapist. What matters most is that you refuse to let the negative voices run unchecked. Over time, as you dismantle the old patterns of harshness, you'll discover an unexpected reserve of energy and optimism. When your mind stops attacking you and starts acting like a supportive mentor, you can face failures and setbacks with resilience instead of self-doubt. Little by little, a strong inner dialogue becomes your secret weapon, a source of clarity and confidence that no outside circumstance can easily undermine. The company you keep matters profoundly. You might not realize it, but the people around you serve as mirrors, reflecting possibilities back at you. If you're surrounded by individuals who constantly complain, settle for less, and discourage ambition, their worldview can subtly become your own. You might find yourself stifling your dreams or justifying mediocrity. On the other hand, spending time with people who push their limits, celebrate success, and view setbacks as opportunities can give you a more expansive sense of what's possible. That doesn't mean you should abandon family or lifelong friends the moment they express skepticism. But you do need to be conscious of how the attitudes of those close to you affect your mindset. Is there a friend who consistently makes you second-guess your goals with sneering remarks? Are you stuck in a social circle that scoffs at the idea of self-improvement? Recognizing these patterns isn't about blaming others. It's about taking proactive steps to protect and nurture your dreams. Conversely, seek out those who uplift you, who see challenges as part of growth rather than dead ends. Join communities online or offline, where people share your interests and aspirations. Support is often mutual. When you surround yourself with achievers, you'll soon find yourself offering your own encouragement and insights. This exchange of positivity and knowledge becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. You see them succeed, which motivates you, and they witness your progress, which inspires them. Choosing your community doesn't negate personal responsibility, but it can make a remarkable difference in how you perceive obstacles. You'll find that when setbacks occur, you're more likely to dust yourself off and press on if others around you are doing the same. Conversely, if everyone you know shrinks at the first sign of difficulty, it's far easier for you to do so as well. As you clarify your goals and embrace the need to leave past limitations behind, make sure you're not sabotaging yourself by allowing a toxic social environment to keep you tethered to who you used to be. Change doesn't happen with one grand gesture. It's built through consistent, often mundane steps. Big dreams, writing a book, starting a company, losing weight, or mastering a skill, are usually accomplished by doing small tasks repeatedly until they accumulate into something substantial. This is where momentum comes into play. When you take one successful step, no matter how minor, you generate a spark. Take a few more steps, and that spark becomes a flame. Keep going, and you can create a blaze of unstoppable progress. Momentum, however, is fragile. Skip too many steps in a row. Tell yourself you'll get back to it sometime soon, and that tiny flame flickers out. Suddenly, you're back at the starting line, needing to muster up the willpower to ignite that spark all over again. For this reason, consistency matters even more than intensity. Sure, working for 8 hours straight on a passion project feels like a big push, but if you then ignore for weeks, you lose continuity. On the other hand, working 1 hour every single day can yield surprisingly powerful outcomes because you're always close to your progress. Patience is key, too. People often abandon their goals because they think results should appear overnight, and when reality doesn't match that fantasy, they grow frustrated. Real transformation is rarely instantaneous. It's a slow burn that demands resilience and belief in the long game. Every day that you do the work, no matter how insignificant it might seem, you're casting a vote for your future self. Over time, those votes add up, reinforcing your identity as someone who follows through. Moreover, the act of showing up consistently trains your mind to see yourself differently. You're no longer the person who only talks about doing something someday. You're the person who's already doing it. That identity shift is incredibly powerful because it replaces wishful thinking with tangible action. And once you start seeing the results of your commitment, tiny though they may be in the beginning, you gain confidence. That confidence fuels further action, and thus momentum grows. Step by step, day by day, you inch closer to the vision you once only dreamt about, leaving behind a past in favor of a future you're actively creating. Ultimately, leaving the past behind is about making a conscious choice every morning. You decide that your past experiences, whether triumphant or painful, will not dictate what you do next. The only time that truly exists is now, this moment in which you have the power to act, to change, to rewrite your story. Sometimes we hold on to the past out of habit, or because it's our default setting. But being alive means you can set a new direction at any point. You can declare, that chapter ended. Today I begin again. This mindset isn't about erasing memories or denying past lessons. It's about releasing the weights that no longer serve you. It's about seeing your past for what it truly is, a series of stepping stones that led you to this current version of yourself, with all your potential still intact. Even if those stepping stones were shaky or broken in places, they played a role in shaping your character. Yet the road extends beyond them. You have fresh ground to cover, fresh opportunities to seize, and a future that's begging you to step into it fully. The moment you decide to let go of yesterday is the moment you free yourself to shape tomorrow. Embrace discipline to ensure you keep moving when motivation falters. Surround yourself with people who believe in growth rather than stagnation. Transform your self-talk into a supportive narrative that fuels resilience. And remember that every small step you take, every act of courage, every risk you embrace, creates momentum that propels you beyond your old limitations. If you ask yourself, am I willing to pay the price to create the life I truly want? The answer must be more than a whisper of yes. It needs to reverberate in your actions every single day. The decision to leave the past behind is both simple and profound. Simple because it's just a matter of deciding, and profound because it changes every aspect of how you live. So, consider this your invitation. your wake-up call, to finally release your grip on old regrets, old stories, and old fears. A new chapter beckons, and it can begin the instant you choose to turn the page.